Hello, everybody. Welcome to MHTV. I'm a bit croaky tonight, but it's the season for bad throats, so please just bear with me. We're going to be talking about student voices tonight, so hopefully we'll be hearing a lot more from our student colleagues, and that will be fine. So in case you guys want to join in, and we'd obviously love to hear from you as usual, please do join us. And the best way to do that, I'll hand over to Dave so that he can tell you how you can join in.
Hello everyone. So you've got a couple of options to join in tonight, as always. The first one is on the Facebook live feed. Just head to the right and you can pop in your comments and your questions, and we'll feed in as many as we can tonight. The other option you've got is over on Twitter, and all you need to do is include the hashtag MHTV, and we'll make sure we'll bring in those as well. But without further ado, straight back to Nicky.
Absolutely. And to introduce our guests, Bryony, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, so I'm Bryony. I'm a mental health student nurse. I'm on the degree apprenticeship route. So I'm in it's part 2. I'm in my 3rd year of studying, but it's part 2 as they call it. Worked in mental health for coming up to 7 years now. Mostly I've done inpatient and community work. I went straight from doing my A-levels. Didn't fancy uni straight away and thought I'll get some experience in mental health. It's quite a big area, and I thought it's a big jump going straight to uni. I'll see what experience and if I like it. When I was doing my A-levels, I thought I'd like to do health. I'd like to do something health related. I was quite keen on drama, so I thought, maybe I'll be a drama therapist. That quickly went when I started work, and I thought, oh no, I'll be a nurse. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you very much. And Tanisha.
Hi, I'm Tanisha. I'm a 3rd year mental health nursing student. I literally, this is my first access into mental health nursing. So I came straight out of sixth form, straight into university. So I don't have as much background to talk about. But yeah, there's not much else to really say, to be completely honest. Just
you arrived and now you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. And I guess what I wanted to sort of come to both of you is, why mental health? What led you into mental health?
So for me, I am awful with anything physical related. I'm really squeamish. So I knew I wanted to do nursing, and I thought I absolutely cannot be a general nurse. Then they introduce all the physical health competencies, which absolutely throws me because it's terrifying. But yeah, I just think my mum was also a big kind of factor in that. She had a career change quite late on. Had done kind of, hairdressing, taxi driving, and then got a job in mental health as a healthcare worker. She was seconded to do her nursing. I think I watched her kind of go through that, and it was a massive part in me thinking, actually, this is something that I'd really like to do. I just think it's really rewarding. I think all nursing is, but I just think, I think considering I think there's still a lot of kind of misconceptions about it, I think challenging those and supporting people is really, really rewarding.
I can't think of 2 better routes in than hairdressing and cab driving, to be honest.
I'm sure she saw a lot.
Great parts of humanity and figuring out how to get through. I think that's great. 2 great options there. Yeah.
So in my family, there's quite a lot of mental health issues, and so I saw that growing up, and so my mum has always said she can remember me saying at a very young age that I wanted to work in mental health, but I never kind of knew where. It was like, oh yeah, I'll do some counselling, or I'll become a therapist, or it's just sort of didn't actually know mental health nursing existed until it came to A-level time, and they were start looking for courses. But my granddad fell unwell. He's fine now, so it's all good. But while he was there in hospital, the way that the nurses cared for him was just amazing. And so I was like, oh, maybe nursing, this looks quite good. And so I had a look into nursing, found mental health nursing, and I was like, oh, it's the perfect combination, really. But yeah, that's my only reason. That I didn't have any nurses in my family or anything, so I don't know what sparked the nursing side, but I think it was definitely the nurses at my granddad's hospital.
Find out how people find their way into particularly mental health nursing, because it's such a specific choice to do. And it's one that, and if this has been your experience as well, but when you tell people that you're studying or that you are a mental health nurse, hardly anyone goes, oh, that's great. Most people go, sure, I could never do that. What's your experience been of sort of like telling friends and family?
My friends are always, well, my friends are amazing about it, and kind of you get the classic, oh, I couldn't do that, and oh, that's amazing. My family are obviously, well, family differs because some people have different views on it. Maybe they're still, you know, kind of lacking some understanding, but my close family obviously are really proud of, obviously, particularly both me and my mum for both doing the job. Get a few comments. I remember telling someone asked me, oh, what are you doing? And I said, I'm doing my nursing. And they said, oh, are you specialising in anything? And I said, oh, mental health. And I think they was expecting, you know, surgical, you know, that kind of thing. I said, oh, mental health. And they said, oh, you need a degree to do that. Like, yeah. Yeah, you do. So yeah, it's interesting how different people kind of see it, but us, again, it's lack of understanding. It was okay to go to uni for 3 years to go and work in a hospital, but yeah, the understanding that you didn't need that same level of education to do mental health nursing. Interesting.
That's it. What's your experience with sort of talking about it to other people?
So mine has actually mostly been good. It's a lot of, that's a really good choice, but is it not challenging? That's normally like the following question. Or people are like, oh, well, what have you seen on placement? That's like the main thing they want to see or hear about. They're like, oh, so how was placement? I'm like, yeah, it's good. And then like when I tell them that I was like in a care home and, you know, I've done stuff like catheters, they're like, but you don't do that. And it's like, I got to like challenge what you actually thought there. But yeah, no, most of mine has been positive. Like literally the only one bad thing I've ever heard is similar to what Bryony had, and it was, oh, well, so you're not a real nurse. It's like one of those ones I was just like, no, I'm not doing the 3 years training, no. But most of it's very, very positive. My family is very supportive, so that's all I can ask for, really.
Yeah, I think the ones that always used to stress me were the ones that were, isn't it dangerous? No, because I wouldn't do it if it was. Not being massively brave. And then people going, oh, I would have thought you were intelligent to be able to do them. Like, and how many years do you have to do to become a doctor? You're like, that's not how the course works. You carry on getting gold stars, eventually they just give you a stethoscope. Hips to McDonald's or something. Not how that works. So it is a strange thing. And I think what you both sort of like brought up is that actually there's not still, after all this time, there's still not a huge amount of knowledge about what mental health nursing is, what it involves. So maybe even what it's like being a student mental health nurse. I wonder if you could sort of tell me a bit about what it's like being a student mental health nurse at the moment. Don't worry about making us cry. Go ahead.
I'd say being a nursing student in general at the moment is quite hectic. I mean, I think it always has been, but following on from COVID and, you know, the backlogs of all of that, it's hectic. And I mean, in mental health, I don't know, like from my recent placements, I've seen that there is a lot more people out there actually asking for help. So like the backlog on services is just, it's crazy. I don't know, I think in third year, you know, they're training you up to become independent. So it's one of those where like, oh, well, you know, you can have your own mini caseload. And it's like, oh, thanks. Are you sure? Are you sure I'm ready? But yeah, no, I still love it. Like, I don't know, it's one of those things. I love being busy. I love being pushed in that way. I'm like, yeah, come on, I'll take it on. But yeah, I think definitely at the moment it's hectic, it's busy, but there's still that whole, I think the student network in its own way has kind of grown through like social media and stuff. So that's kind of one of the things that's helped me as a student nurse. But yeah.
We'll talk about social media in a second and that kind of like the kind of peer support that you get, the network support. What about you, Bryony? What do you think it's like if you have to give an overview right now being a student nurse?
Yeah, I'd echo what Tanisha said, and I just think it's a really kind of important and massive time with what's going on with kind of strike action, and kind of what the implications are going to be for the future. Tanisha touched on like COVID, and I think, you know, during COVID and people were talking about nurses on the front line, and I thought, and all student nurses and healthcare, and I thought, I feel like a bit of a fraud being told that I'm front line. That's the people in ICU, and that's the people, you know, directly working with COVID. But actually, the impacts of that have been huge. And I think the role of like the mental health nurse is probably more important than ever in kind of dealing with the repercussions of that. But yeah, it is challenging. I think it is busy, and I find it really frustrating from a kind of systemic point of view of how unfortunately it does kind of fail people, and you know, the pressures on services, but how that's perceived in the media in kind of a really negative way on us as staff, rather than a wider kind of systemic problem. And in general, kind of back to kind of being a student thing on a personal level, for me, obviously I study, I work, I'm almost like, it's like a seconded thing of doing work, so it's really challenging going to work and being in my role as a support worker, then going and being in my role as a student nurse, then my role as a learner and doing academic stuff. So yeah, a lot to take on.
I think people don't always realise the number of hats a lot of student nurses are wearing. You know, particularly if you add in like family and carer roles on top of all that stuff as well, because you'll be, maybe if you're seconded, you're an experienced member of staff. You might not be someone who's particularly senior. You might not necessarily be qualified in anything specific, but you'll be a really important functioning part of a team, and also have that feeling when you go into work that you knew what you're doing. And then one of the things that's quite difficult for students is you keep getting moved from placement to placement. So you're always trying to get to meet people. It's like changing schools all the time, isn't it? Suddenly having to figure out how everything works. And so not only are you learning your skill, but you're also learning how to fit in and be part of this real complex moving parts. And so you've got this part of your life where you're really competent, and then part of your life where you feel like you don't know anything all the time. And then you're constantly switching between the two, and then trying to find the energy to study. And you guys have been studying a lot, presumably because of COVID, online. So you've had a very different kind of educational experience to people who've been in cohorts before you. And I wonder, what's that been like? What's the studying side of things been like?
So I think I was quite lucky in the sense that because I was employed by my trust, I was able to go out on placements. I know a lot of people had placements cancelled and placements were virtual. But because we'd kind of done all that training and we were employed, we were able to go out within our trust and do our placements, which was really good. We still had obviously online lectures, which I found really challenging. I find it really difficult to focus at home. And even when I do things from home, in my job, if I do kind of notes from home or attend a meeting, I really like that home is home, work is work, you know, uni is uni. I like having that break between the two, and my home kind of became my home, my study place, my workplace. So it's really hard to switch off. So I found that really challenging.
Yeah, mine is pretty much the same, literally. So we obviously theory side in my first year was all online, and for me that was really weird because I just obviously come out of sixth form where I was so used to face-to-face teaching, and then to come into that, it was just, I absolutely hated it, if I'm honest. Like, especially because I moved out of home as well, so I was in an area that I didn't know, all these online lectures, everything around me was kind of cancelled because it was still 2020, COVID was still around, it's still around now, but like at that time it was a lot higher, and so it was actually very draining. My first year was very draining, and then second year we came back face to face a little bit, and I was like, okay, this is good, like I can get on with this. And now this year we're pretty much fully face to face, but there's still people on the course that like, we should be online. You know, if we're online, then I can do other stuff at home at the same time. I'm like, I'm paying money for this. I need to be face to face. But yeah, no, placements wise, that's been good. I've been lucky enough to not actually have any virtual placements. Because I don't know how I would have actually got on with that at all. I'm hands-on. I need to be there, learning like right there. So I'm lucky on that front.
And that's our time we get to spend like with patients and, you know, the hands-on experience that, you know, was really lacking during that time. So I'm really grateful that obviously, you know, we were lucky enough to kind of still get that experience, because that's why we're doing it, isn't it? It's to be with patients and help them.
So what would you say is the most difficult part of being a student nurse? A student mental health nurse? The hardest part?
For me, I'd say, even now in my third year, I'd say probably balance, because it's one of those, I mean, I'm uni student, on placement, working, I need to see my family, my friends, and then time for myself. And it's like, I think especially whilst I'm on placement, trying to get that balance, especially with the cost of everything at the moment, it's like, cool, placement 40 hours a week, but where's my money coming from? It's one of those. It's so having to sort of balance it out so that I can still have some form of stream of income whilst putting my nursing course first. I'd say it's definitely the hardest part, most difficult part for me.
What about you, Bryony?
It's really difficult. I mean, thankfully, I'm really lucky that the financial part isn't as much of a problem with being on an apprenticeship. So that is kind of one less stress. But I'm really good at giving advice, but I'm really bad at taking my own advice. Just like today, when I like really stressed myself out of this presentation that I have. And I've been really good with telling everyone else how to keep calm and how to, you know, stay less stressed and blah, 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 blah. But actually today things got the better of me. And I just think it is that kind of sense of overwhelming when you've got so much to think about, of the balancing the different roles like we've already discussed. Also, I think knowing with the kind of work impact as well, knowing that I've got leave coming up and tying things up at work, trying to be a friend, trying to be a girlfriend, trying to be a good daughter, you know, trying to be all those roles in life, trying to be a good student. And I think trying to be good in all of those areas is difficult. There's always one that you're lacking in.
Just don't like injure anybody and be adequate. That's fine.
Yeah. Like someone put in our group chat earlier, I can't remember what she said, something to do with, I can't remember how she worded it, but it was just beautifully worded, and I thought that was everything I needed to hear. It was, you know, good enough is good enough, and you don't need to be, you know, excelling. And I always remember one of my lecturers saying, you're not doing a PhD, you know, it's not a PhD, stop trying to be up there.
I feel bad that everyone's been like, just tone it down a bit. But again, it's that balance, isn't it? You know, you're going to be brilliant at all kinds of things, just probably not all at the same time. And there is this kind of, I think when we're always measured, because you guys have spent the last 3 years being measured about all your placements, from your conduct to your ability to come in and smile and say hello and make friends with everybody, to pick up complex biology, to understand social functioning. All that stuff's massive, isn't it? And then it's really important to turn it off sometimes as well, isn't it? And say, actually, I'm not getting judged today. Because that's the other thing I would say about nursing placements is, even though people want you to do well, they're also keeping an eye out to see how well you're doing the whole time. And that just makes it a very different interaction. It's like being a permanent job interview. It's hard.
It's a lot of pressure.
I wonder if there's anyone who's particularly supported you, anything that's been really helpful or encouraged you.
Wait, sorry, I was checking I wasn't on mute again.
Actually, neither of you could think of a single person or thing that had been helpful to you or encouraged you there for a second. That was a sad moment. You need to do better with these two.
No, for me, in my last placement that I just finished, it was, I don't know, it was like the whole staff load there, they were just so amazing. And I think it was forensics, and so I think no matter what, I mean, this one had how many, 12 different units or whatever, and you know, there was times where there wasn't a nurse on the unit that I was on, so they'd send someone else over, and no matter what, they'd be like, oh, it's fine, like, come on, like, we're still gonna crack on, we're gonna get it done. And it was never, no one ever called me the student, which was that on its own
name on a badge is so insulting, isn't it?
Exactly. So that, not being called the student in my last placement was amazing, but also just like the way everyone there would, no matter what, make sure to say hello. You know, they'd be like, how are you doing? Is there anything we can help you with? Which is, I don't know, like in some of my placements, sometimes they're just like, just get on with it, like, you know what you're doing. And so to actually have people there to be like, oh, you know, do you need any help with anything? Is there anything that I can do to help you? And you know, there was an incident towards the end, and the matron called me out, like, once I'd finished, like, how are you doing? How's everything going? It's like, you know, do you need any support? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, like, you know, this is like, I didn't expect that to happen, because I assumed once you're done, that's it, you're off their books. And so for him to actually reach out and check that I was okay was like majorly important to me. It's definitely changed my view on the place, because I mean, I had a positive view anyway, but now it's like extra positive. It's like up here.
This is how people get staff. I mean, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that they don't care about it, because I know that they do. But like, there's a reason why some areas keep and maintain and get staff, because they take an interest in the people who work there, because they support them, because they do all that kind of just basic expectations around well-being. And that's why. And the sad thing is, you know, the kind of places you were describing where people are really anonymous, those are the places that have high bank and agency turnover. Everybody's just carrying on. And until you crack that human problem, you're never going to put a pin in that and stop it. It's really strange, isn't it?
It is.
How about you, Bryony?
Remind me of how you worded that question again.
I'll answer any question you like. we were talking about the things that have been helpful to you.
That's it. So I suppose I kind of think of it in like different areas. Naturally lucky to have really good family support, which helps you get through a lot. The days where everything gets too much, that's what kind of pulls me through there. I would say also, I think what Tanisha says about having like really positive people on placements does really help. I think I've been quite lucky. I haven't really had any negative experiences on placement, but it does really help having practice assessors and practice supervisors who really value having students, and you can tell that they really want to support people and want you to do well. And that was really helpful in my last placement. I've got my old manager who unfortunately isn't my manager anymore, but we remain very close, and she is my words of wisdom when things are going wrong, and she is the one who will tell me to stop throwing a princess drop and put my big girl pants on. And you know, life does get better, and you know, blah 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 blah. And I think I've had like a kind of recent experience at work, and with kind of patient care and being reminded of like why I do the job. I think it can be really frustrating at times and really demanding and really challenging, and you just think, is anything of what I'm doing making any difference whatsoever? But yeah, I had a really kind of positive experience with a patient who I work with, which kind of instilled a lot of hope, and I've seen how she's kind of flourished and made seeing her feel good made me feel really good, and kind of puts aside all of those perhaps bad days that we have.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, following on from that, literally you were saying about with a service user, so outside of uni life and student nurse life, I work in a bar, which, you know, is one of those things, just get through the day. And I was there one day and I saw this woman and I was like, she looks really familiar, and I was like, I don't know where from. And then she came up and she's like, do I know you? And I was like, I think so. I was like, I think I know you as well. And then like we started talking, and eventually I found out she was one of the first patients on my first ever placement that I'd ever looked after. And she was telling me how like all these things, like the support that I gave her and like little advice, she's like, yeah, I still use that now. And I was like, oh, I was like, I'm gonna cry. This is just like, especially because at the moment, like at the time I was like kind of second year blues, and I was like, oh, you know, like, I'm so far away, but I'm so far in. And like hearing that, I was like, okay, yeah, this is why I done this. So I was like, yeah, let's carry on. And it was just like one of those little things that it's stuck with me ever since. I don't think I'll ever forget that.
Oh, I'm glad. It's really important, isn't it, to be able to see and notice those things, because like it all comes past in such a big rush that it almost feels like an effort to stop and actually think about sometimes why you're doing the things you're doing. So I guess we've got some questions coming in, but we really ought to get to the thing that brought you both together. So can you tell me a little bit about the NHS Student Hub?
Do you want to do it, Bryony, or do you want me to do it?
Go on, you start and I'll follow on.
Okay. So we've been working with Health Education England to make the student hub. So it was literally created by students for students. You know, there's stuff on there about placement advice and how to manage just life as a student, and just like little profiles. We've both got a profile on there, you know, just so like people can sort of meet their peers and know that there's other people out there like them, pretty much, that are doing the course. But that's what I can think of right now. My mind's just gone completely blank.
So I think, yes, I don't know about Tanisha, but I saw it on Twitter. I know they kind of published it on other places and kind of invited students to get involved in forums where we spoke about what we'd want to see on the hub, what's important to us. And it was quite difficult because actually sometimes it's quite a lot of duplicated stuff. We all have stuff on our own universities platforms, but I think it was really important that actually this was going to be made by us. It's got nursing, midwifery, nursing associates, adults. So obviously all the stuff on my platform is mostly to do with my course, whereas, you know, going on the student hub through Health Education England, there's lots of other stuff. So it was really good to kind of be involved in that. Obviously meet other people. I didn't know Tanisha before. It was nice to have another mental health student on there because there was quite a few general nursing on there. So it was nice to have another view of someone in the same boat as me. And yeah, kind of we've all put our own placement tips so that other people can have a look and see what might help them. Our wise words of wisdom. And also just kind of like getting a bit more knowledge about Health Education England. It kind of points you to other training they can do, other ways that other students can get involved. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I was definitely going to say about you saying it's actually highlighted who Health Education England are, because I was lucky enough to go along to one of their board meetings to sort of like what's it called, present the student hub, and I felt really bad saying it to them, but to me Health Education England were kind of just like a faceless organization. They're just there, like, you know, the university would be like, oh, here's some training on their website, and that was it. So actually being able to learn who those people are, the people behind it, and then have the student voice actually put there, because they have actually such a very big impact on like nursing courses and midwifery courses and stuff. So to actually put the student voice there, to me, was really, really important. I actually can't remember how I came about coming into contact with them. I just remember getting an email one day, but I don't know how I signed up to it. I can't remember. But yeah, it's definitely, yeah, I'm very happy that I've done it, because I feel like it's making even if it's a slight difference, it's making a difference in student voices. So
I think there's two or three things. One is, one of the things that happens a lot for students, I think, is you end up feeling very disempowered. You know, when everyone's like names are printed out and just like on a piece of paper, like taped to the side of something, or, you know, you're the last one down on the rota in pencil. It's a sign, isn't it, that, you know, where you are in that kind of pecking order, and actually being able to say there's tons of us and we have really specific learning needs, we have a really different perspective and different things to say, and actually being able to have a sort of nationwide voice to say is really key. And I think it's kind of impressive for other students to be able to see you guys doing it as well in this kind of like really relaxed way, just like this is what we think and this is why we think it. And again, with you saying, I felt like HEE were like this really faceless organization, so I told them, like,
Yeah.
you, isn't it? And this is how you make yourself accessible, so it's important to do it. So tell us a little bit about the sorts of things that you know that you got out of being part of that, the development of the hub on a personal level. How did it benefit you guys?
I found it really interesting looking. I mean, there's only a couple actually published on the website at the minute, because they're coming up sort of sporadically. But during the forums, we obviously discussed our own profiles, and I found that really helpful because listening to people from, you know, the same course in same years, different courses, and how different people work and how different people manage their personal life, manage their stressors. And I just find it really interesting hearing from other people and hearing from other students. I found that really useful. So that kind of on a personal level, and for me, obviously, just gaining more knowledge about the student hub. And I think what you were saying about kind of having that student voice and speaking up, I think some people are really reluctant to do so and think that it's not going to, no change is going to come of it, whether you're a student, whether you're a nurse even, or, you know, a doctor. People think, what's the point in talking? But actually, if you don't say it at all, then obviously no change is going to come because no one's going to know about it. So I think the first step to actually doing it is to have that voice and to speak up. So hopefully other people will feel like they can do the same on other platforms, not just with Health Education England.
Yeah, no, mine is literally pretty much the same. Otherwise, I'd say, you know, I've been able to actually meet other people, like, because for me, it's very much, it was my university and the people that I met there, that was kind of it. And then maybe a few other people that I met on placement. And so actually being able to join like the student forums, and then everyone was just kind of chatting. And then at the end, you know, there were swapping overs of social media and stuff. So now if we ever have a question, like, you know, like the child nurses might have a mental health based question, they could come to us. We might have I've had many questions. I've sent them to a girl who does child nursing, like, oh, what about this? So, you know, we're able to sort of network and build friendships even, like, I just think that for me has been really important.
I agree. Sorry, I was going to say that's a really good thought about the networking thing, because actually, like, I've followed a few people on Twitter and on Instagram who are in different fields of nursing, and they share certain resources. And obviously, we're in our own field, but things do overlap. And you know, we might come in contact with, you know, different kind of services. So I've actually found it really useful. I've learned quite a lot in terms of saving all these different resources and yeah, and just becoming a bit more aware of other areas, I suppose, which is really helpful.
I think it's definitely a sign that you're progressing in your nursing. If you have like a folder on your desktop where you put everything that one day you're going to read, you're putting it all in there. And you guys have both been mentioning sort of Twitter and social media and things like that. I wonder if you've got any thoughts about, you know, how you might, if you've had any suggestions about how to use that as a student nurse and get the best out of it.
For me personally, I made like just a student nursing Instagram, and originally I literally made it to sort of journal my own time. And I was like, 3 years is a very long time, so to be able to journal that, there'll be things that I might forget about, and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. But from that, I've been able to connect with student nurses literally all over the world, which I was very surprised about. I thought it was kind of like not very popular, but it is. And so from that, like Bryony was saying in the previous question that you asked, like resources and stuff that they've made themselves for revision, and then they post it, and then I'm able to be like, oh, like I needed to find out about that, it's there. Or I'll read it and be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, maybe I should reread over that sort of stuff there. And so for me, like that way it's been really good. But also again, just like coming into contact with lots of people, making lots of friendships, you know, just messaging each other like, how are you doing? Like, because it's little things like that that for me have made a really, really big difference. Yeah, and I mean Twitter as well. Now I've kind of turned it to more like professional. Before it was just kind of like my own little place. But now I'm coming more into like nursing and, you know, seeing different ideas and different opinions, which is very important. But yeah,
it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a complicated thing, but generally. Bryony, have you got any thoughts about, you know, because you mentioned getting involved by social media?
Yeah, I mean, I use Twitter quite a lot because I think I just find it easier to find things with, you know, people sharing things. There's lots of discussions on there. You know, at the minute there's loads about the strikes and just loads of different discussions on that. I did attempt at making a uni account on Instagram and failed miserably. That keyword time, and I just didn't update it, and before I knew it, it's been 2 years and there's nothing on there, so it's redundant really. But Twitter is my place to be. Facebook is like my little kind of personal space. Instagram is my personal space. I kind of get things from it, but I don't really share much, whereas Twitter I keep as my, you know, I do share personal things, but you know, I follow a lot of professionals from uni work, and like Tanisha, you know, people from all over the world in all different fields. I think it can become, you know, I've got it on my phone and it can be quite consuming, sitting there scrolling, and it takes up a lot of time, but I think it can be really valuable as well and really useful in what information you can get from it.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think I do exactly the same thing for you. So I keep Twitter purely for pretty much business, for nursing business. And it means that I'm in a very different space. So I don't get involved in any of those Twitter fights or things. It's not really the nursing world particularly. Although, as you mentioned, strikes are putting us in a very interesting position. If you guys want to talk about it, you can, but you don't have to. Have you got any thoughts that you wanted to share about, you know, whether you think that strikes should happen, or what your thoughts are?
I mean, I'm absolutely in support of them. I think they definitely are needed. I mean, I've seen the way that nurses on the units that I've been on have literally been rushed off of their feet, you know, and I've seen the impact of short staffing and stuff like that. So for me, absolutely in support. And I've looked where my local picket fence is for tomorrow. So once I finish uni, I'm going to go along, give some support.
Take something hot. That would be my advice.
So I've got 2 hot water bottles. So
for your colleagues, but okay.
I agree. I'm in support of it, and I think there's lots of, you know, everyone deserves fair pay, and there's other sectors that want fair pay, but I think it's really important that people know that it's a lot more than just fair pay. It's about safe working conditions and a you know, a wider thing than just getting more money. I will be thinking of everyone striking tomorrow when I'm doing my uni presentation. But no, I think it's really important. And I think, I can't remember how many, but it's years and years, isn't it? That
40 something, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's really important that the nurses' voice is heard, and that these issues are shared.
I think I'm always proud when nurses stand up for themselves the way they stand up for other people.
Yeah.
All the nurses I know have been such amazing advocates for really vulnerable people in mental health, and actually seeing people doing for themselves and for their colleagues and for patients as well is really exciting. You know?
Definitely. I think looking at the list of when they published the kind of trusts that had, you know, through the unions who have sent back their ballots and voted yes, it was quite disappointing that actually there I don't think there was many mental health trusts on the list that had voted yes, which was interesting. Yeah.
Possibly to do a little bit more staffing.
Yeah.
Might be one of the things that makes a difference. We've got some questions that have come in. So, hello, Sunray Farrell has said, it's agreeing with Tanisha. Always nice, isn't it, when someone agrees with you? Saying it was refreshing to be on a placement where staff were helpful and supportive, and I could ask any question and where they were around to help. There was a crisis team, their best placement yet, so well done, whatever crisis team that was. So whilst in crisis, dealing with some of the most vulnerable patients, you've been able to make someone feel like they want to stick around, which is huge in this business, I think. what's your tag on social media? So it's on the front piece that's been going to be playing at the end of the discussion, so you'll be able to get in touch with anybody on the courses on this program today by doing that, if that's all right, from the questions that's come through. Someone else has asked, what's going to happen to mental health or to nursing if Twitter collapses? Are we all going to end up on Mastodon? It feels like this is like a phone-in show for Brian and Tanisha to fix your problems.
Do you know, when there was all the stuff about Twitter's ending, I was actually thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to connect with all of these people? I mean, yeah, I'm on other platforms as well, but it is a big thing. It's a massive network for people, and to then be able to find those people on other platforms. You know, I use LinkedIn, but I do find it a bit, that's very business and professional, and I do quite struggle with that, whereas Twitter is a lot more opinions and it just feels a bit more natural. I'm still on it. I'm all for Twitter remaining.
I suspect what will happen if it gets unbearable, then everyone will just move lock, stock, barrel somewhere else.
Yeah.
But like, you know how mushrooms are all interconnected underground. Just like that, everyone will bob back up again, connect back up, it won't be a problem. Be a nuisance. I've got another question here. What advice have you got for me starting a placement when I've not been to a mental health background before? So someone who's never been in a mental health placement before, what advice have you got?
I see a lot of people ask this. I'm on a nursing page on a group on Facebook, a mental health nursing one, where lots of people ask, I've got this placement, what should I do? Where, you know, what do I need to research? And for your first ever placement, I would say don't put pressure on yourself. You're not going to be expected to know everything. You're not going to be expected to do anything on your own. Just go in and be passionate about wanting to learn. Is what I would say, because it's your first ever placement. You've got no previous background experience that you can bring and, you know, and share, which is fine, because there'll be other aspects of your life that will impact how you are as a student and what you can bring to the placement. And I think just turning up and being passionate about being there, ask lots of questions. Lots of people say don't, but ask lots, be curious. That's what I would say.
I absolutely agree. So mine was, other than my family, like I didn't really have much mental health background, so I just turned up. Like, I tried to do some reading, little bits, like I looked into the placements. So my first was acute psychiatric, so I was like, oh great, I could come across anything. So then I was overwhelmed by the fact of trying to read absolutely everything at that point to know about all the different type of issues and problems I could come in contact with. And now looking back, as great as it was, part of me kind of wishes that I had just gone there and just asked the questions instead of trying to find them online, because sometimes online can be a bit of a mess. But yeah, no, I would say my advice is just honestly ask lots of questions, because especially if it's your first placement in mental health, they're not expecting you to go in and be like this absolute fountain of everything mental health. And just remember that no question is a stupid question, because at the end of the day, it's helping you learn. And you might think it's a stupid question to yourself, but someone else might actually have the same question. So yeah.
And questions help the people who you're asking questions as well, because it prompts them to think about the answer. So it's beneficial for everyone.
Tells them what level your knowledge is at, to be on the kind of questions that you ask. It really is helpful, absolutely. And there's nothing worse, I think, having been in mental many times, and the worst thing people can say is they get straight through the door and say, what time can I go home? That's the worst thing you can do. So don't do that. But also, you know, at some point bring biscuits.
Yeah.
Not on your first day, it's too obvious, but like it's too desperate. But at some point, just be like, "Hey guys, I just swing past the supermarket," and we're like, you just feel your feedback just rising up, just slightly, because what people will do for biscuits in the NHS doesn't even want to be talked about publicly. It's too dreadful. we were really kind of meeting to talk about the NHS Student Hub, and we've plugged it quite significantly. We're also going to be tweeting it out as we go. And it might well be that at some point we come back and look at this question again. So hopefully you would be able to join us again at that point. And also maybe just for your Q&As about life generally. So that would seem to be a very useful part. But as we're going to be finishing up soon, I wondered if either of you wanted to take just a minute, if there's anything that you wanted to leave anyone who's watching with. And I thought as well, just pop to Dave, because as ever, I haven't really included him. If he's got any questions for you, anything you wanted to ask Dave.
It's been a fascinating sort of conversation to listen to tonight, Nicky. And I think one of the things that's popped into my head, not just with the conversation tonight, but is I've got a daughter at the moment that's just sort of changed over to secondary school. And that kind of thing about the quote that George Bernard Shaw made, that youth is the most beautiful thing in the world. What a pity it has to be wasted on children. And I think it's the reason why I kind of bring that one up is, you know, when you sort of embarking at the start of something, there's so many opportunities to learn things and to experience things and to develop things. But often we kind of rush through those periods because of anxieties, or because of, you know, like you were saying before about turning up at a placement and feeling like you have to know anything or people think badly of you. When you become a qualified nurse, you look back and think, oh gosh, I wish I'd have used those experiences so much more to say, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. Can you help me, you know, do it better? And I think that's where, you know, the Student Hub and listening to people like you speak is really important, because hopefully people that are in that kind of mindset of thinking they have to rush through, they have to always be the best, they always have to be right, you know, they can think about the benefits of youth, of not just youth in age terms, but also in terms of experience in things. And as I say to my daughter now with her new school, you know, just try and take as many opportunities as you can, because once that period of your life is finished, you won't be able to do it again, you know, so kind of do that. So hopefully that makes sense why I kind of used a quote that maybe sounds a little bit cruel. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking about tonight. And obviously it's really nice to hear the comments about the strike action and the you know, often people will sort of ascribe that people younger aren't interested in these kind of things, or, you know, and obviously that can't be the case, because, you know, if we want the world to be a better place, we need the people that are coming to want to fight for that better place. And that's where, you know, all the benefits of the world have been won before by people that have been willing to fight for them. And it's great to hear students have that voice and to want to sort of fight for better things, because it's just such a needed thing. So yeah, just a few reflections on tonight's discussion, Nicky. Hopefully you didn't mind me just sitting back and listening tonight.
No, when you started with George Bernard Shaw, I've got to say I was anxious. Luckily, my professional training kicked in. I wrote it out. So, Bryony and Tanisha, is anything you wanted to say before we finish up tonight?
I don't think so. I think it's been really, really interesting, actually, really nice to come on and talk and share my view. And I think Tanisha and I share quite similar views, you know, both being mental health nursing students. And yeah, I think just echo what I was saying earlier to whoever asked the question. I think if there are any students listening, to just be curious and don't be afraid to share your thoughts and your views, because we are the future of nursing, and that's really, really important.
Definitely. No pressure to them.
I know, really leading on from that one. No, literally it's pretty much the same. I mean, our whole thing today was about the student voice, and so, you know, as Bryony said, if there's students out there, like, your voice is important and getting that across is important, whether that be in uni, on placement, outside things like we've done with Health Education England, you know, getting your voice out there is important. But that's all I'd really say, other than, like, thank you. It's been really good to be on. So.
It's a chat, isn't it? And you guys are absolutely right. Nobody else sees the world the way that you guys do. And it's really important for you to feel comfortable and confident to say what you think.
Exactly.
Because, you know, I think when Brian was saying, you know, how disappointing it can be sometimes when things don't go well in services or when we let people down. It just feels so sad and so difficult, you know, and we've got such a long way to go, I think, in services to be providing the kind of care that we really long to give,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in terms of seeing people's recovery, that, you know, being able to share those disappointments, being able to look to the future, being able to want something better is really important for us to be able to do that as kind of like a family of mental health nursing as well. So I really enjoyed tonight very much. And it was a lovely one for us to end on. So we're not going to be around now till the new year. So I hope anybody who's watching is going to have a peaceful and a happy new year. Do have a look on Twitter or in the comments if you wanted to follow Tanisha or Bryony. I can't think of a better thing that you could do today. So thank you very much, everybody, and good night. Good night, all.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.